Well, hello, FC Dallas Curious fans. Welcome to episode 70 of Third Degree, the podcast. Now, we do know, of course, that FC Dallas is not playing currently, but as always, here at Third Degree, we try and bring you local soccer content, and that means it's time for us to turn our eyes to another team in town, the second best team in town, I think that's fair to say, who is about to start their season this weekend. And that would be North Texas Soccer Club. So in order to tease that season, I am joined today by special guest Eric Quill, who is the head coach of North Texas Soccer Club, and a man I've actually known since 2004 when he played for the Dallas Burn way back in the day. Eric, thanks for coming back on the podcast. This is the second time you've joined us since we've started.
Thanks for having me, Buzz.
Well, I know the season is just around the corner, and you kick off this weekend with Forward Madison, so let's get directly right into it. Now, we'll talk about the opponents in a minute, but one thing that's very different about this season is that so far, from my point of view, media are not allowed to watch training, not since the very early days because of the COVID pandemic. So it's perfectly understandable that we're not allowed to go these days. But so you're going to have to tell me, since I can't see for myself, how does your team look? Are you guys ready to go?
We are. We're looking better and better. Obviously, it's a very different season than normal, given the hiatus that we took. But we've been back and, taking step by step the protocols. And so we're back to full team training. And I think that I don't think by any means, I think our fitness level is close. I think we're still, it'll be interesting to see, week one, where, our sharpness, how long it takes us until, does it stop in the 75th? Does it go to, are we able to find our second wind and really push a strong level in the 90th and beyond? I don't know. Because we haven't been team training that long. So, that's going to be one for the eye to sort of behold this first week, and I think, but everybody's in the same boat. So and actually that's not even really true because some markets had different sort of start times, and so I think that I'm really happy where we are. We're almost fully healthy as far as all of our signing guys. We got a couple guys a little bit banged up, carrying some things that are just coming back, so that I expect them to be earning minutes here early on. So all in all, really pleased. Obviously, as you know, some new pieces compared to last year. So they fit in nicely. And I know the guys are excited. It's sort of that, it's about time kind of feel. So, I'm super excited to see where we are come Saturday night.
Obviously, this COVID situation has been very impactful on everybody. I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys were shut down like all the rest of us in mid-March. How was the process of getting going been for North Texas Soccer Club, and what were the sort of stages, and how soon were you able to get back to? I know it hasn't been very much, but when did you get back to full team training?
We got shut down like everybody else for that long period of time, and then as they sort of reintroduced us to protocols. Going back up, we started individual trainings, but before that, even I in all honesty, I basically turned the team over to our sports performance coach because he had the most impact from a physical standpoint while we were away, doing Zoom meetings every day, Zoom workouts, and really just did an outstanding job keeping guys motivated and really keeping them working hard. And so, I was basically his assistant. And cheerleading and trying to challenge guys and having conversations with them off, individually on the phone, doing whatever we could to just keep them stimulated and keep them in a positive state of mind. So it was not easy, but our guys came out of it really thriving, and it just made them, when it came to individual workouts, they had a great attitude. I think they were relieved to be on the field again, like all of us, and they busted their tails every day in a not so normal, environment, having the field segmented into fours, and everybody having the social distance and keep far away from each other, and then coming up with resources to have them be able to hit a ball and have it come back to them. So we got creative with making some of our own equipment that allowed for us to sort of try to keep these guys sharp. So we moved from there to small group training, which was definitely really nice to pass and have part in. So every step of the way we've progressed, and so team training we've kind of been in the last 3 weeks now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and so and that obviously comes with a lot of testing, COVID testing, and making sure guys are healthy. And send a message to them every day. Be careful where you go. It's the things if you watched the news outlets, and this is very heavily dense in Texas still, and beyond. But we got to be super cautious because now the season's about to start. What we don't want to have is all these guys put in a ton of work, and at the last second, somebody makes a bad decision and gets sick, and then takes himself out for 14 days. And basically, when you do that, you've basically taken a body of work and all the fitness, and you're starting back at square one, so to speak. So we're trying to avoid that moment as best we can. But it's a silent, and you can't see this virus coming. So it's one of those deals where we guys being smart off the field and taking what we say to heart.
Now, in the limited amount of training I was able to watch prior to the shutdown of your team, I was particularly impressed with Juan Manuel Alvarez and Alex Bruce. So for me, those are two of your biggest newcomers. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those two guys, if you will?
Yeah, Juan Manuel has been. I mean, this guy is going to be the real deal. His mentality, his whole overall game, great feet, great vision, great quickness, really good combination. He's obviously was with Monterey, as you know, and grew up in their system, and you can tell they did an outstanding job with him. I think it was just one of those deals where they're so dense in talent that he just couldn't really find his way in. But it wasn't for. I mean, I don't think he was far off, and I know they liked him a lot. He was with the first team, and I think what he can do, he can play a range of positions. I mean, you can play him as a 2, you can play him as a 6, as an 8, as a 10, as a winger. I mean, he has really high level tangibles in all these different. And so we like him in the interior of our field right now. Not to say that he can't bounce out and play some different stuff, but we brought him here to sort of be a box-to-box 8. And he took an injury a few weeks back, so he's just coming back this week. So I fully plan on him being in the lineup. How long? We don't know. We're trying to sort of get a good sense of how long we can kind of push him this weekend because he's just coming back. But he's a huge part of what we're doing. He's a leader. He's our captain. So I think fans and those that are coming out to watch are going to really enjoy his game. And so Alex Bruce, I know very well from my time back in Houston. He played for me with my old club. We won a national championship with him. Really just an outstanding 9. Very, very different than what we had last year. He's a true target. Excellent feet. Excellent post-up player. So he really brings a different element, obviously, than we had last year when we had Ronaldo and Pepe as slashers up top. He's going to provide us more of a sort of a really target body to sort of play balls in off of him. He holds the game up well. So I think we have the ability with him to slow the game down a bit when we need to, and possess through the thirds because we can play into him at any level, and he holds it up well. He lays balls off well. So our style may be a little bit different than last year in some tempo areas, but he's lethal inside the 18-yard box. I mean, I've known this about him. And I think he's going to enjoy the players he's playing around. You can see it in training and in the squads we've had. I think we provide his game with the likes of Juan Manuel and David Rodriguez and Gibran Rayo. A lot of good combination players, and all he's got to do is find good spots in the box, and he's gonna find chances. So he's a guy that doesn't need a lot of chances to take the goal. He's one of those guys. You give him one out of two, he's gonna take 1 out of 2, if not 2 out of 2. So I think he gives us more of a stinger in the box, which we all want to have, right? So I'm excited about both those players.
Anybody that's any of your new signings that's over the last, let's say, last month impressed you that we should be looking for this weekend to pay attention to?
Alisson Correa, he's one of the Brazilian. He's a sixth that we brought in. He's been super impressive. His ball winning ability is really high level. He's going to be a really good presence for us in the middle of the park. He's going to destroy a lot of things, and he's got great feet and distribution. But he's just really a guy that's going to shore up the middle of the field for us. And I think opponents are going to really struggle around him and be fearful because he's got the physique, he's got the attitude. He's that nasty type 6 that we're all looking to sort of disrupt and sort of have teams fear us. So he's a guy definitely to watch.
Now, you lost 2 pretty key players on loan, your center back and captain Breck Evans, and your MVP and assist king Arturo Rodriguez. Those are some pretty big shoes to fill. So who are you looking for to step into those shoes?
Yeah, so they are big shoes to fill. I mean, from a leadership standpoint, Breck was huge, and obviously a left side center back who's got a lot of talent and is a fiery competitor. We missed him, but we made up for it with we went out and got Lamar Bautista, who has had play experience with being drafted by MLS teams. He spent some time in Portland, LAFC. I think it was just in the offseason with Minnesota. He's interesting. I think he's played a variety of positions. He played left back and we see back. So I think he's maybe playing a different role than he's used to, and maybe as a youth player, because he's got some flair and back. And so we're trying to get him to sort of simplify his game and commit to being a center back, which he's taken in stride. And he's got great size, great athleticism, great feet, good distribution. So he's been a huge plus for us. And then we have a young one in the back, and Justin Shea, who's coming along really well. Who's everybody needs to put on the radar because this kid's he's gonna wow some people.
Oh yeah.
He's one that is he's definitely obviously Lucci and staff have their eyes on him, as they've had for some time. But he's growing tremendously fast, not just physically, but in his mentality and his ability on the field. So he's one that we really want to give a lot of opportunity to because we see a really bright future in him. So be paying attention for him. As far as replacing Arturo, that's a tough one. I mean, we've got guys like Benny Resnick that's been in with us, and he's gonna he'll see some time probably with us. Benny's a slashing type winger, is really good 1v1, and he brings a lot to the table going forward. So maybe he's that guy that steps in from Arturo and gives us what we need from that outside. And we've got the usual suspects, and Ronaldo the killer from last year, Golden Boot winner, and a guy who's very brave in front of goal. He's going to get opportunities, and he's going to he can fly. So we feel like we got a good balance of speed and technique and ideas, and so we'll be interesting around the front half of the field. So, but Arturo's different. Arturo is a player like no other. He can hit you on the score sheet from the goals, assists, and those are hard to replace, right? They're not just they're not there in abundance. So we'll see where we are. I like where we are though.
Are you in touch with Breck and Arturo? Do you know how they're doing in Austin and Salt Lake?
Yeah, I'm not. I've talked to Breck a few times. Obviously, Arturo's brother David still plays with us, and so I get a lot of updates through David about Arturo. I think Arturo he's got an injury right now, so he wasn't in the lineup this last week for the Monarchs. But I know he started in game 1 against San Antonio. So I think he's gonna be. He'll be fine. He's gonna break in there and be great. I've spoken to Breck a few times. I think Breck's he's in a learning experience in Austin, behind some experienced center backs, which is good for him. I know he wants to play, and I know his mentality. He'll eventually make his way in, but I think he wants to happen now, and I just got to be patient. He's got He's got to just open his eyes and learn from the veteran type center backs who've got a lot of experience in front of him, and welcome that opportunity when it does come. But so I think he's antsy on the end of the bench, hoping for his opportunity.
Now, last year, one of the things that you and I had talked about as a little bit of an issue was the occasional times that you struggled without FC Dallas players and without academy players when you found yourself a bit shorthanded once or twice. And we had talked about the idea that you might look to carry a few more roster players this year. Has that turned out to be the case? Is that you think that's a problem you have solved this year?
Well, yeah, we did. We've signed a few more, but we definitely need to stay healthy. I mean, we didn't sign a 20 guy roster. I mean, we 15, and so if there's and then we got a couple of guys in our academy that can help us. And right now, I mean, we're giving opportunity to kids, young 05s, 04s in our training environment right now are coming along really well. So we're trying to sort of build the future, through the academy and giving opportunity. So we'll see. And, when it comes to those type kids, our 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 2-3 months can make a world of difference in a kid's physique and just if we bring him in and where his game can go. And so we want to just have a good balance between that opportunity and training and see where some of these kids go. But we'll be fine. I think if we stay healthy and we're smart, we're not going to be in a bind where we're signing Michelle. At least I don't think we will be.
I hope not. Now, you mentioned some of the 15s, and I was actually really surprised to see some of the guys, the 2005s in particular, that are going to be 17s now. That feels a little younger than before. Is there a little bit of a philosophy change there to try and bring them in even younger than you did last year, or is it just a question of I needed some guys and I knew these kids were available and I knew they were quality?
No, I don't think it's a philosophy change. I think we just have a special group of kids that, when you have that special type of group, you kind of look past their age a little bit and say, look, they're really good soccer players, and let's just let's challenge them on the environment and let's test it. Let's see, maybe we get it wrong and a kid's not ready physically yet, or maybe a kid's not ready cycle. But we don't know, man, and that's where us as a staff has to be really smart with how we bring these kids in, how we handle them while they're in our care, but my thing is I really try to push them like I do a second team player. I think they need to see, they need to sort of feel that mentality piece of how they need to be pushed and their training habits need to be picked up and speed of play, and there's a patience curve there, but at some point you want kids to come along when they come in the environment. It's how fast they can retain the information and apply it. And so we're just taking those little moments and seeing how each guy is doing. We've had a few in for the last couple of weeks, and they're growing each day. You can see every one of them making strides and progress from day one. So I think this is what we're meant to do. And we're enjoying doing it. We love talking about it. We love evaluating their performance after training. So we'll see if any of these guys get opportunity throughout the year. But for the first step was just bring them in the training environment.
Now, speaking of FC Dallas and the players that are going to come down, with FC Dallas not playing, is it likely we'll see a few more than traditionally players come down and join you from FC Dallas? Or is it going to be the standard sort of 4, 5, 6 players?
Yeah, I don't know. We're talking. It's probably going to be the standard 3, 4, 5, depending on, they have needs too. They're building towards the first game of the season, and so it's really where it's trying to meet both of our needs and their number one priority. So it's if Lucci feels somebody needs a League One game and sort of that pressurized game, then he's going to send them. And I think, but I don't see it being some abnormal players because they're not playing a game. I think there's a fit between the guys in the first team that can play with the second team based on age and responsibility. So I see it being that sort of same, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 kind of range.
Is there anybody specifically that he's already told you you're for sure getting, just so fans can maybe know who to look for this weekend?
Nobody specifically yet. There's still, again, it's we're still talking.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speculate or say anything and make fans mad because they came to see it
The show, but he's not
they
there.
didn't show up. So exactly. So,
Yeah.
but there's a range of names we're discussing, and you know, and it's health is number one for them too. They're getting guys back healthy, and so we just got to be responsible and what that looks like. How many minutes does a guy who hasn't played in a few weeks? What does that look like? We can't be irresponsible with where some of these guys are physically.
Is
So
there is there a COVID protocol? I mean, that's probably going to be a factor in it too, I would assume, right? I mean, if they come and play with you, they're exposed to a new group of people.
Right. I think that's where you're finding all over the country right now is in this model of integration. It's kind of has to take a back seat right now because for health reasons, and I think everybody understands that. So we can't expect to have this up and back system that we've had as much as I think we'll try, and we're trying to with thing and everything. So there's an integration with if players are going to come into the second team environment, we test. We wait for those results, making sure that everybody's that we're all being smart and responsible with who's in the environment and how they've been tested.
I've been struck over the last year or so by the large number of staffers FC Dallas has at any given training session relative to the history of my watching training. And then I was looking up your staff today. I didn't see if there had been any changes, and I noticed that there don't appear to be. But I was really struck by looking at your staff, and it reminded me so much of the staffs when you were a player in the early 2000s, even going back to like 96 when we were at Green Hill or Blue Sky, and there'd be, one head coach, two assistants, a trainer, an equipment guy, and that's about it. But I think it says something that we're talking about a USL 1 team now that has a staff equivalent to what an MLS staff was 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's all I've ever really known. I mean, it's coming from my former club. It was just a head coach. There's no assistants. So I love having assistants and they're so bought in, and our sports performance coach and our equipment manager and trainer. It's a family type staff that we just all love being around each other, and there's so much knowledge there to share that I've learned a lot from them, and that's what I want from it. I mean, that's the number one thing as a head coach is Michelle's got a wealth of experience to give to myself and the team, and Alex Aldaz is the same. We just really love talking the game and supporting each other, and again, there's times they challenge me, which is I love, and I challenge them. So we're all, but in a good way. It's always we're filtering it to sort of get the best out of all of us and for the team. So I love our staff, and it's that's all. Going back to your point, it's all you need. I mean, it's great to have more, but if this is the bare minimum, we're in pretty good hands.
Now, I have a couple of what I call soccer dork questions, so bear with me a minute here. There's new kits coming for you guys, new home kits. First, will you give me a hint about what they look like? And second, the more important part of the question is, do players care about such things, or is that just us on the outside that care about things like kits?
No, I think players care. I question coaches. I think my style and my caring about those things are left that with when I stop playing. So I don't really, I'll if a uniform is sharp, I'll say, oh, that looks nice. But I couldn't tell you graphically or with any sort of detail what these new jerseys look like. So I would do a service if I was to try to tell you anything about the uniforms. And I think I might have seen one, and to be honest, I don't even remember. So I know Lucci is our style guy. He would be able to give you vivid detail of what
Lucci thinks he's a style guy. One of my other crusades is the importance of numbers. And last year it seemed like there was a theme, and maybe you don't have anything to do with this, but it seemed like there was a theme that the guys that you had signed to your own roster got to pick first and picked mostly low numbers. And then when guys came down from FC Dallas, if their number was available, they could keep it, but otherwise they would, sort of fill in some of those lower numbers. And then academy kids were 30s and up. Do you guys have an official system for your player numbering, or is that just something the equipment guys have done without even talking to you about it?
No, I think last year we kind of gave because it was year one, we gave like the veteran type, the veteran, I say veteran, like the older of the young
the
guys,
23-year-old,
the first choice, the 23-year-old. We gave them the first choice, first dibs, and then went down the line. This year, I think it's just been giving guys numbers when they come in, and maybe asking them, what number do you want? If it's available, they got it. What's your second choice kind of deal? What's your third choice? I haven't heard anybody specifically question a number that they didn't get a certain number, so I think everybody's just kind of accepting whatever they get.
Well, there are a few new teams in the league this year. I think it's 3, if I kept up. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you know of these 3 new teams, just because most people are going to have no clue at all. Union Omaha is a brand new team, and then there's 2, let's call them feeder teams like North Texas, and that's Fort Lauderdale CF, which is Inter Miami's farm team, and then New England Revolution 2, which is obviously New England's team. So what do you know about those teams? What can you tell us about them?
So I got to see the first game with Greenville and in Fort Lauderdale the other night. So they're young. I mean, they're using 7, 8 academy kids. I don't know. I mean, they had likes of a Blaine Ferry, who you know well from locally, playing in the lineup, and Servan Carrasco, who's had many years in the last. They've got a good sprinkle of guys with some good experience with some of their young academy guys. I think they've signed some Cuban players who are a little tidy and technical. They're obviously in year one and sort of figuring their way out in the second group. Obviously, we get a second year at this, and so I was impressed with some certain aspects of Fort Lauderdale. Greenville's Greenville. They're going to be highly organized and just a really good squad. John does an excellent job there. And so those matchups where we play Greenville we're going to look at those on the schedule and really get up for them because we know the quality they possess, and it's always going to be a tough game against them. I don't know much about New England. I know that they've brought some USL championship type players in from, Loudon, who I think, if I'm reading between the lines right, like a Richie Williams was at Loudon before he came to New England. So I think he had some familiarity with some of those players. And I think it's just one of those deals where they just put together a team based on the resources. And so they brought some pieces in from the college draft, as we did. And they've got, I think, a few academy kids that they're going to look to project and utilize in that New England Revolutions 2 system. So I expect them to be solid. I mean, I think that I know that I spoke to Kurt Anolfo. He asked a lot of questions to me, just kind of on our model, how we sort of do things and some of the decisions we made. This was back, after our season. So I think he was gaining some knowledge and has, obviously a lot of experience with Los Dos before he took over the reins as the head coach there. So I think Kurt's a good guy if they're going to kick this thing off, to build a team. Omaha, I see that they've, there's a couple players from like Lansing, who folded, that made their way there. A couple players from Tormenta, I think that went there. So I think they put together sort of a group of USL Championship with League One type caliber players that they felt could serve the profiles they need in year one. So there's no video on these guys. There's no video, I think with all the COVID, I think, they're friendly games and everything like that. It's been, really, you're not working from much, from video footage with anybody of the new team. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to really evaluate after week 1 and week 2 and try to come up with the best game plan against them.
All right, now you kick off this weekend against Forward Madison, who have amazing kits and awesome social media presence. What should we expect from them on the field?
Well, they got a great coach in Daryl Shore, so you're going to see an organized group. They're very veteran. I mean, I think they have 5 or 6 guys that are in their 30s.
Wow.
And then a few others that are late 20s. And so that's a lot of experience there. So they will be, like I said, I think they'll get behind the ball and make it really hard for us to break them down. And they're looking for those opportunities to counter us or on set pieces to take advantage of us. I think that we played each other 5 times last year, so I think that we know each other's styles there. So I think hopefully we can dominate the ball, and I think that's the hard thing is sometimes with us and against a team like Madison is dominate the ball and win, have 65% possession, but don't have a lot of chances to show for it. And so we got to really do a good job of being vertical and getting quality chances and not just going side to side and probing. We've got to try to, probe to hurt them. So that's going to be what we're kind of designing and hopefully getting across this week is verticality and how we're going to go about it. And then also we got to be very good in our prevention shape because, they have guys like Don Smart, who's 32 years old, Madison brought in a kid from Hartford who's got some experience. He's a 6'4", 9. So looking at that signing, I'm thinking that they want to provide a lot of service for him. So we've got to be really good in crossing situations, denying crosses, and then, holding marks in the box and battling physically. So it's going to be a good test, versus the old veteran versus the young bucks. So which one wins out, and I think it can go either way depending on the effectiveness and the mentality of each team.
Now you no longer have to share a Globe Life Park with an XFL team, benefit for you, but you do have to share it with a rugby team in the future. Hopefully that's not going to be terrible. So you did train there this week. How's the place shaping up?
It's beautiful. They did an outstanding job with it. The guys, us coaches, the staff, we just thought it's just a great venue. I just think it's got such a great vibe, and I know that visiting teams are going to come and enjoy playing there. Tons of space, and feel very, very fortunate, very lucky to have this be our home.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you repeat as USL 1 champions?
Absolutely. I'm saying absolutely. We've got great talent. We can win it again if our mentality is right, and we know that. Look, it's going to be a lot harder. People are going to be gunning for us. We're not going to be surprising anybody throughout the year. So I think that's what we have to understand most is teams are going to be coming harder at us than last year, and so we can't let off the gas and feel like we've got anything won. So it's just going to be a completely unique and different scenario, but one that I believe in our guys. I believe that we're going the right direction, and I know how much they love to win, and so they have the talent.
So who do you see as the biggest threat before the season starts?
Before this, I just got to say Greenville, man. There's something to that, obviously to John and what he does there, and being that they were in the final last year, I'm sure they're going to be hungry. Anytime you're in a final, you want to, you got similar guys still in your roster. They're going to they want to come back and get revenge, or they want to be, or if it's not us in the final, which I hope it is, but if it's not, they want to win it. They were so close last year, and there's something to that. There's something to that mentality of a team who took second and then wants to get back there heavily the following year.
All right, so the season kicks off this Saturday at 8 p.m. Central. That's at Globe Life Park in Arlington. I'll be there. I can't wait. Looking forward to seeing some soccer in person. With the delays, Eric, I imagine that you guys are chomping at the bit as well to get going.
We are. The guys they're nervous, and you can tell their training demeanors. There's a lot of focus and nervousness, and I think that's all healthy as you go into week 1.
All right, that's our preview of season number 2. Hopefully a repeat as USL champions. We'll see, crossing our fingers. Eric, thanks so much for coming on and filling us in your team. I'm looking forward to it.
Anytime, Buzz. Thanks for having me, bud.
All right, that's been this week's episode of Third Degree, the podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast or any of our other work on the internet, including our website, you can support us at patreon.com/Third Degree, and we will see you next week on Third Degree, the podcast.